Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the second round of the Under-20 Rugby Championship. Now, round one was full of wet weather. It was full of interesting results. Australia losing badly to Argentina, whereas New Zealand and South Africa went down to a last-minute thriller, which was decided as a 13-13 draw. But we've just seen the game between New Zealand and Argentina. They have got themselves a nice little lead on the table now. South Africa, they will be right on their heels, hoping to get themselves a big win here up against the Australians. But looking through at the starting lineup, a lot of changes for the Aussies in this contest. I believe they made 10 in total as they try and find what went wrong last week and see what can improve for this game. In the front row, it is Jack Barrett alongside Tui Pelotu and Bloomfield. Then in the locking duo will be the captain McPherson, who keeps his spot at number 4 with McRae there at number 5, the Stasto at number 6 with Sawyers and also Harley as the number 8. Now, I should mention it is also still raining for this game, so sadly, it's going to be another wet weather game, and honestly, I think that probably benefits South Africa more than the Australians. Last week, we saw Australia really struggle in these conditions. Same can be said about South Africa, but they were still able to get themselves a try, which puts them a little bit ahead of the Australians. Then, in this contest, in the back line, Sharples at 9 with Cullen Gray as the number 10. Stenny Forth out on the wing with Lee and also Goldsborough in the midfield. Tapini Grace out on the other wing and Shane Wilcox to slot in at number 15. For the South Africans, they have gone with a little bit of a similar side with a few exceptions to that. It is going to be in the front row, the man who was coming off the bench in the last contest, Makubela, whose name hopefully I have said correctly, best at 2, and then it is going to be Hurst slotting in as the number 3. Halakane moves from the loose ball trio into the locking duo. Now he's an absolute beast of a man. He's going to be an entertaining one to watch him out on the field. JF Van Heeren moves into the starting lineup rather than coming off the bench. He's got some experience for the under-20s in the past as well as for the Bulls. He has been playing quite nicely there when given the opportunities. And the loose ball trio will be Fuller, Kutsia, and then Tian Jacobs slotting in at number 8. In the back line, Moose keeps his spot at number 9 with 10 being Thulon Williams. Best out on one wing, Van Nijkerk in the midfield with Julius on his outside. Then Bester, Bull, and also Damon there keeps his spot at number 15. But we currently got the South African national anthem that is being sung in the chat. We have got plenty of messages, so we'll quickly read through those and then we will look at the previous results from last week. We've got Ruth here in the chat. We've got also Bystander. We've got Grant, Padza, Robert, all here and all excited for this game by the looks of it. But I hope you guys do enjoy this stream. Of course, do let me know your score predictions for this contest as well. We will be reading through them in a short moment. But these are the predictions that we got wrong when they're the results from last week. 13-13 between New Zealand and South Africa. Now, we did know with the rain falling that it was going to make it relatively close between the two teams. 13-13, a little bit more close than most people were predicting. For Argentina, they got themselves the bonus point win over Australia, although we've just seen New Zealand get themselves the bonus point win over the Argentines. So it does now put the pressure back on South Africa. We've got to remember, they were the side that had the penalty and decided to kick the ball out for the draw at the end of that contest up against New Zealand. Will that come back to bite them in such a short format of this competition? Only 3 games to try and cement yourselves as the inaugural under-20 champions. Hey, Bystander says, Robin a box by 15, says Andres for the prediction there. And good morning, says Fleshin and in the chat as well. And I think the tricky part here is we got to see some good moments from South Africa in their last game. Australia up against Argentina just didn't get anything going. So that makes it very confusing to know how strong they will actually be here when they go head-to-head with South Africa. They've made 10 changes. Are they actually going to go all right? Or are they going to lose this game like they lost the last one up against Argentina? But the kickoff just about to take place. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be the youngster Cullen Gray to kick us off for the second game of the day in the Under-20 Rugby Championship. And first touch of the day goes to the big man, Hilakane. He's definitely one to watch out for in the future. Or Lekanye, I should say. The H is silent. But Moose now going to be kicking this one downfield towards the halfway line. Nicely cleaned up by the Australians. Now, the field is not, oh, that was a little bit late, but it's a nice shot coming in from the South Africans. I think that ball was knocked on the 22. Yes, it was. So it is now going to be the scrum feed for the Australians, but massive shot coming in on Cullen Gray. I think it was Damon in the end knocking that ball on. Hey, mate, how's the weather down south? She's a bit chilly. I think we're 5 degrees Celsius at the moment. That was actually the big man, Jaya van Heerden, who was flying through to get that big shot in onto Cullen Gray. But yeah, for this game, sadly, we got more rain. It isn't as wet as it was last week. How is South Africa doing overall? In this game or the whole competition? Because this game we've only seen a minute. And of course, we've seen a nice little bit of physicality off the bat for the South Africans. In the last game, which was the opening contest of the Rugby Championship, like, you know, they didn't do too badly. In the conditions that we had, it was always going to be a really ugly game of rugby. And in the end, like New Zealand and South Africa, they just couldn't split from each other, both ending up with the 13 points in the end. It looks like the rain is just stopping now, though. And like I said, there aren't any puddles on the field, which is massive improvement from what we did see last week. Hopefully, that is the way that it's going to remain. Now, 2 minutes in, scrum beat for the Australians, 25 metres out from South Africa's line here. And it looks like the front rows have gone down, and it's actually going to be the penalty off the bat for the Australians. You don't see that too often. Normally, you at least get that warning first. Mahubela's side, I believe it was. And it looks like the Australians, they're going for the corner, which is a bold move. Mainly because they were not able to score themselves a single try last week up against Argentina. And that can hurt a team's confidence, but then it can also motivate them the game after to really turn on that extra level that they weren't able to find in their game prior. But I think it's going to be so key for this youngster, Cullen Gray, at number 10. He has to try and hold this back line together, find those other dangerous players. It looks like they're going to opt for the rolling maul here for the Australians. Just starting to make a few extra metres in the process, moving up to 10 metres out from the South African try line. I'm waiting for this ball to come out the back door as Sharples running off the back. Tuipulotu gets within 3 or 4 metres. Looking for that next passing option for the Australians now. The big man, Jack Harley. South Africa need to make sure that they stay on side. It was the tackle from Van Heerden. Now 3 metres out. Lakane makes the tackle there as well. Close to the line. Good breakdown work from the blitz box, or sorry, from the baby box. I should say they are still 2 metres out now for the Australians. Gray with a massive wide pass. Just manages to stay in the field of play, only because Damon slipped and someone just got trode, says Novmum. That is going to be going back now. Or is that Troud maybe? Troud? Trode. The penalty for Australia. Once again, they're only 5 metres out from the goal line. That is an offside penalty. So once again, Australia kick it for the corner. They're looking to get the latter. Is that from that real early shot? Like the one when the guy was kicking? Is that the one you're talking about, Nov Mum? Yeah, some nice stepping out wide from, I believe that would have been Staniforth. Line out throw for Tuipulotu. Gets it in. Australia claiming it once more as they look to get that rolling maul marching just like the first. They're only 2 metres out from the line now. Oh, when his shorts came down. Oh, no, I wasn't. I didn't even see that happen. To be honest, that's going to be into touch for the Australians, just running out of space. That'll annoy them a little bit. That was a great opportunity to Penny Grace. Just had like maybe a metre to work with. Yeah, just great low tackle from Moose to be able to force him into the touchline and hit the like button and work the algorithm. Good people, sub 2 says by standing. Anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button, of course. Got plenty more coming for the Rugby Championship. And wet 9 on the sunny coast, says Annoy there as well. Just doing up the bootlaces at the moment, one of the big men. The next round of this Rugby Championship, I should mention, is going to be taking place on next Sunday, or this Sunday, I should say, 3:30 p.m. when South Africa will be playing the under-20 Argentine side. That is actually a 5:30 a.m. start for you guys in South Africa, compared to us in New Zealand, where it is a 3:30 start. Then there is the game between Australia and New Zealand that has taken place at 5:30. Now kicking that one towards the touchline, it does go out. That'll clear some of the pressure for the Australians, or sorry, for the South Africans, but of course, it's going to be relatively tricky to be able to work their way out of their own half in these wet conditions. You do find yourself playing a little bit of repetitive rugby, just booting that ball downfield, hoping the opposition don't throw more at you. I wonder if any future box stars in this team. I think Lekane looks really good, mainly because he is such a big, solid individual. JF Van Heeren, I've heard a lot about that young man. And also probably Lorenzo Julius in that midfield is another player that has been talked about quite a bit. And just from that first game, I'd probably say Tian Jacobs as well in that loose forward trio already has that bot physicality installed in his brain. Nicely taken under the high ball there out wide. I believe that was Bester who went up for it. Moose got the ball away to Williams, who has dropped it. So now Australia is back in possession. Little chip in behind, attempted from Sharples, and it rolls into touch. Is that a 50-22? I don't think it was quite inside of his own area, was it? Yeah, it was. Just, I think they've said a 50-22, but brilliantly gliding through the air for Bester. Are we good to see them as ever go for World Cup 2027 spots? 27's quite close, isn't it? Maybe 31. Like, out of these guys who are in this team, I would say if we're lucky, we're going to see one make it into that 2027 squad. And that's not because they lack talent. That is just because I feel like that 2027 squad, there aren't too many players who will be retired from that bot camp. And if they are, they've still got that squad of about 50 that they are working through at the moment. So I think that a lot of those guys will still be there. That's a Waikato pass. I think it went forward, but it was knocked on anyway. Hello, Hamish, your voice sounding great today, says Brian. It's actually, like, the voice isn't too bad overall. Like, I've been coughing quite a bit over the last day or so, which hasn't been too flash. But, yeah, compared to the weekend, I think the voice has come back a little bit more. But it's also because my nose is blocked in a different way today rather than how it was a couple of days ago. Like, a couple of days ago, it was pretty brutal on that Toulouse versus Harlequins stream. And good boy, Amy, 31. Yeah, I feel like 31, we're going to see a few of these guys get themselves a chance. And I think that is also just credit, once again, to the Springboks and the amount of depth that they have available, that some of the sides around the world will have to look to their under-20s for the 2027 World Cup. Whereas these guys, you know, I think they're going to do all right spending some times with us peasants, I see. Says Grant for Bishop Scouts Southern Suburbs. And Sebastian, love you anyway. And partly French because I work for Frenchman, says Ruth. Now 8 minutes into the contest already. Still sitting 0-0. Which is always fabulous, looking good. How's your cold? It's still there. It's still not great, but by the weekend I think it will be all cleared up. But the good news is my nose has almost stopped running at the moment, so I can at least talk for a bit without it deciding it wants to cut out. Was that out on the full? I don't think it was. I think it just bounced in the field of play. Most of them would be 24, 26 by 2031, so about the right age. Yep. That's a good kick in behind. Just in the field of play. Now, I'm quite surprised about the South African line out. Okay, I think you just read my mind. Because I was just about to say, I'm very surprised that they didn't start Sherwood after the way that he played in the last game. Because I thought he was immense. I actually think he was probably the best out of the whole South African side. And I was just about to say, as Panic Ice Cream, is that how you say it? Panache, maybe? I feel I pronounced that correctly. But yeah, I was just about to say about Sherwood. I was wondering why they weren't giving him the start if he's match fit. And Bystander, who's going to win here, and centre today is going to be the next big thing. I agree. I think that he's going to be a really strong option for them in the future at number 12. That is a great kick from the Australians, now getting a 50-22 of their own. So applying the Vicks Vapor Rub Hamish, says Bystander. I am just in smaller doses than that other day. Like that other day I had way too much on and you guys could see it. And it's absolutely pouring down now once again for this game, ladies and gentlemen. So a decent crowd for this match. I think that the stand is sold out, which is fantastic to see that there is support for this under-20s Rugby Championship competition. It's going to be nicely thrown in now. Australia, that ball's popped out the back door for the Aussies, but it isn't a knock-on, so it is going to be play on in the midfield for Lee. Now moving up to 20 metres out for the Aussies. Bloomfield. Chop tackle on him by the South African defence. And hi, how's it going? Doing all right. Hope you are also doing well. New Zealand getting themselves the win in the matchup up against Argentina. So walking away with a bonus point in that contest to now sit top of the table. I ruptured my eardrum last year. I caught a cold. I blew my nose, very painful. I've never thought about that. That you blow your nose that hard that you rupture an eardrum. I probably should be a little bit more careful over the next few days. Or you couldn't blow your nose. Sorry, rather than wait, did you rupture it from blowing your nose, or am I all right to do that? I wonder if many League Scouts are there. There's probably at least one just having a wee look at this Aussie under-20 side. Another knock-on from the Australians, though. Of course, there are going to be quite a few of those. And how's the conditions there at the game? It was a bit dry earlier on. Now it's looking extremely wet, sadly. Like the rain is pouring down again. It's played at the Sunshine Coast, but we haven't really had a lot of sunshine throughout this competition, unfortunately. Hi, Ruth. How you doing? How's work been? I have what's scheduled for this weekend. So we've got Super Rugby. We've got URC back in action. And then alongside that, we have also got the Under-20 Rugby Championship. You're going to be covering the Black Ferns versus USA. I was going to hopefully be doing it with my mum on the stream just because we normally cover the Black Fern games together, but she's not actually available for that one, so I'm not too sure whether or not we are still covering that game on the channel or not. I think it will also depend on if we're better by then or not as well. Nice offload there for the Australians as they move out to 45 metres out from South Africa's line. Now the youngster Cullen Gray looking for the kick, and you can already see the difference in the way that the ball is rolling. Ever since that rain started falling, there's also been a bit more of a cross breeze. I'm at work, starting to rain hard. A roof can cover it with you, says Justin. Shooting game, my plugs were futile at preventing harm. Okay. So it wasn't from... See, I thought you were talking about the fact that you were like blowing your nose and then your eardrum went bang, which would have been very unfortunate. So Donna will not be watching her favourite team on Friday evening versus the Dragons? I don't think so, no. Not even sure if we're covering that game on Saturday. I'll be watching it as live as you can get. 0 delays. Also, you're going to be in attendance for that one. Wonder what these guys get paid. Yeah, I don't really know. I'd assume they'd get something for their time. I'd like to think anyway. But then saying that, there are a lot of like young players part of academies. They might get some sort of allowance, but I think that it also comes in a package. That is close to 4, but I think it's nice from the Australians. They will once again break the line. Ball on the inside. It is knocked back, and it's nicely claimed by South Africa's winger there, Joshua Bull. They've got the ball back again now, South Africa on their own 22. There's been a huge amount of attack, though, coming from Australia throughout the first 14 minutes of this contest. Because I know that for I think it's the New Zealand under-20s, they have it that they get to play rugby, but they also have to do a trade, or they have to do some sort of university course, or else they aren't eligible or something like that. I think that it's to do with the fact that they want to have them have backup options after rugby because of the amount of injuries that can unfortunately happen with young players. So I think they make them either study a trade or they make them do some sort of like course so that they are trained up if rugby doesn't work out for them. Hope the Springboks win this. Keep warm and get rid of that cold. Cheers, Bruce. Now line out throw again for Tuipulotu. Playing by the Australians. Well, rugby should prevent young players from terrible contracts. Says Katzenel, is in like getting paid less Katzenel or having them learn a trade or something. Because I feel like that's a brilliant plan. Because like the sad reality is of all these players, like of course these are just guesses really, but you know 5 or so of these players who are out there on the field now will probably suffer serious injuries at some point throughout the next maybe 2 or so years. And then that will be the big decision making of, do you go back into rugby or do you give it up? And then you've got the other side of things, which is maybe about 60, 70% of these players may never put on an international jersey. So, you know, they might be very good club players, but it depends on what happens in the future. Sport agent probably rip off most of their clients, says Justin. And when they retire at 35-ish, they still need something for money. Says, no, Mum, that is true. So yeah, knowing a trade or having some sort of qualifications or a course to your name is always pretty handy as a young player. So they are going to have themselves another scrum feed. The Australian bench now just having a little bit of a warm-up here. And like they've said, with the amount of rain that is falling at the moment, it can make you hot and then you get cold. Then you're back to hot, back to cold, and it's just one of those type of scenarios that, you know, makes it extremely difficult to stay in the moment, stay warm, stay rearing to go. That is going to be kicked downfield from the blitz box, from the baby box. I keep on saying blitz box. That is because we recently covered the 7. And like America does with their athletes, can't really become professional without going to college. Yeah, pretty much. So it keeps them with backup options, which I think is still a very good thing to do. Because even if you are 99% sure you want to be a rugby player, like there's still that 1% that can hit you, whether that's the unknown of injury or something might happen in life that makes you have to give it up. I remember back in the day, I'm sure my dad would know the answer to this, but I know that there was a family, and I can't remember if it was the Shelfords or if it was one of those other All Blacks families, but I think it was either one or two of the brothers got to go away and play for the All Blacks. The other one had to stay at home and watch the family farm because, I think he just yelled it out, but I can't actually hear him. But yeah, I remember there was a story about the All Blacks back in the day, how one of them didn't get his opportunity because, you know, things happen. Things got in the way. Oh, here we go. Which family was it?
Colin Meads and Stan Meads.
Colin Meads and Stan Meads. Of course, a lot of people know Colin Meads. Not many people know Stan Meads. And some even felt like Stan Meads was the better rugby player.
Correct.
He just said correct. But
he was probably the better farmer.
He was the better farmer too, my dad just said. But yeah, so that can happen, you know. Of course, not everyone owns a family farm that they have to mend, but, you know, family, I don't know, whether it's illness or you move or something happens, you fall in love with a Spanish lady and you go to Spain, you know, anything can really happen in this world. It's going to be knocked on from Australia. That's one thing that's slightly certain at the moment. Handling errors in the rain for this contest. But 18 minutes in, South Africa once again will pass it across to the right-hand side. Someone Meads to look after the farm. Says Grant, yeah, so it's Stan Meads, I have been informed. Back in the day, got to watch the cows while the brother plays for the ABs. It's going to be fired across field. Currently sitting about 20 or so metres out. It's going to be now the penalty going the way of Australia. In fact, about 40 metres out, my apologies. Got to double it. Those Spanish women are kryptonite, says Justin. I just made a cup of tea. Back to the kitchen to make another one, says Simran there. Wait, I just spilt my drink. Oh, uh-oh. That's not good. Was it on carpet or was it on, like, vinyl? Because carpet, I assume the cup wouldn't have broken. Vinyl, you're a little bit more 50-50 in terms of you might have the cup to clean up as well. And ooh la la, Spanish lady, you say, says Katzenel. And also, my cousin was a waiter in the Auckland restaurant about 10 to 15 years back, and the Boks were dining in, and Percy said to him twice during the order, "Sir, the wine is the priority." It was on my foot. Ooh, well, that'll be hot. Have you got your foot in the tap or in some sort of like shower or something so that it doesn't get worse? Make me one, please. Ran out of tea, says Beds Ablaze. And no need to repeat what your father said. We can hear him. Can you? Nice. I didn't know whether the microphone would get him from the doorway. That's the only thing. Sometimes it cuts out like what it considers. This sounds bad. I don't mean in a bad way, but it cuts out background noise, as in like stuff that's not just in front of the microphone. So it's quite good that it managed to pick him up. 20 minutes in at the moment. Australia on the halfway line. Once again, we'll go for the box kick. And typical fashion, South Africa Australian against Australia. Some things never change. There's nervous Jack. Yeah, although the rainy condition seems to be something that are relatively difficult for this young South African side. And I don't know how much they've played in rain throughout their careers. Of course, their careers are still very young. Traditionally, a South African pack should never struggle against an Australian pack. I said it before and I'll say it again. They like the fundamentals of South African rugby, says Jaden. Although, we've also got to remember, these guys are young, right? And when you look at some of those guys for the current Springbok system, they started playing some of their best rugby when they reached about 25 years of age. So, yes, these younger guys may be struggling a little bit, but we've also got to remember, like, they still have, some of them, very bright futures. And also, they've still got more time to learn those fundamentals. Sometimes it's just about getting them in the right environment and giving them game time to then learn what they've got to do. And international rugby, you know, this is a big opportunity. Not surprised that the Junior Wallabies lost courtesy of Amunga Ball, taking the best Aussie players as a little cream of the crop. Says Simi Souza, South Africa Scrum merchants. Hang on. Mibasa Mukobela is in trouble here. He's made direct head contact. Just clear it up. It's not the players, it's the coaching. And yeah, like I said, sometimes you just need a good coach that can help develop the players in the right direction. Right, we're about to see it here. That's an ugly one. That's to the back of the head. That's at least a yellow card for the big number one. I mean, he showed physicality just in the wrong way. Is it raining at this game too? It's on and off, but when it rains, it pours. Imagine seeing Eddie Jones, the Australians under 20. I think they'd try and get it as far away from Eddie Jones as possible, as he's already done enough damage to Australia Rugby. That wasn't going to really do anything. Mabasa Nkobala there, or Bella, I should say. Like, that was just a cheap shot on an exposed head of an opposition player. He should be going to the bin for at least 10 here. Right, it's a yellow card and an on-field review now for Mahubela. And to answer your question, Hamish, I have a face cloth that I run in a cold water. Okay, that is good. You got to keep on doing that. It's 10 minutes in. It's a bit early to say the Boks are struggling, says Grant. That's what people set up against New Zealand as well. And then they came back and drew that game. So, you know, it'll be interesting. Should give him a red card and suspended so he never does it again. Says Katzenau, the back of my of the head hurts. It does. Like, pretty much the guy for the Australians, I don't know how to do this without looking weird, but he had his head like this and he got chopped right there by the South African player. This is also effectively the second string baby Bok pack, says Panachi there. And that's the thing, like this competition, it's not just about the competition as a whole, it's about finding what players are going to be those mainstays in the future. So you want to give everyone a game. And they've made a lot of changes, similar to what we see for the Australians. They've made 10 changes to their lineup. But 20 minutes down in this contest currently. We got the tea, how people make their tea by the sounds of it. And while we move back all the Aussie forwards, bit though, unnecessary to do it. Yeah, like Australia had four players in a row doing that top and tail so that the kick could have happened for Australia, right? Oh, they've already reviewed it. Angus maybe will now find out. I think this is going to be upgraded to a red card. And the Australian player is going off the field for an HIA. We had a little bit of a stoppage. I believe he might have had a little bit of a wobbly leg situation. But it did not take long for them to review that one. Right. So Ollie McRae, he's been taken. In fact, no, he's still down. Yeah, this doesn't look too good for him. And like I mentioned, right on the back of the head, we've seen boxers get paralysed from shots like that. And hopefully that's not the case for Ollie McRae, who does not look like he's actually moved since the shot came in. They're just trying to keep him still, while more than likely they will put him on a stretcher. Meanwhile, Mbasa Makubela sits in that chair, and more than likely he will be out of this match for the rest of the game, but it's probably fair enough too. The crowd is packed. What game is he watching? So, crowd is packed in the stand. It's a sold-out stand, but it's just in the embankment that they haven't got people. So, like, yeah, on the stand side, it is completely packed. I think they mentioned that it's a sold-out stand, but it's not on the other side, if that makes sense. And yeah, it does look pretty full, though, when you look at that stand section. And people really drink tea with milk and sugar. Mum had no patience for such extras. Says Katsanel, and hello from Strand at the beach, South Africa. Says Ritsima, welcome in. Hope you are doing very well. Looks like both of these sides just trying to keep warm at the moment while there is that injury of Ollie McRae. And like I was just mentioning about earlier on, this is probably the perfect example of sometimes you can't control what happens in a game of rugby. So that is why they do have those young players looking at trades, looking at other ventures just in case. Okay, I'll be back, need to take pill for thumb, so I don't have to chop it off. Says Pads of Lays. So does a loose forward have to come off now for the Boks? I think they will have to. Right, he's back to his feet, I think. No, he's not, sorry, he's actually on a stretcher. I thought that he was one of the players who were lifting him off the field, but they are taking him off. I'm hoping he's going to be all right, because it was just a nasty, cheap shot that there was no need for. But yeah, I think that until a scrum happens, they can still play with the same layout that they've got. I'm off now, guys. Hope the game goes well. I might pop in later if I have time. Bye. Have a good day, night, wherever you are, or wherever you all are. See someone there, so we will see you later on. Mr. Retzimanel, and thanks for the commentary. Right, the on-field review. It's going to be upgraded to a red. Suspension says Katsanel. Yeah, probably will end up being. And who is out? So it was the Australian number 5, Ollie McRae. It's going to be a red card here for Mbasa Makubela is the man who gets the red. And they're just going to show the replay again here. Yeah, no, that's bad. So pretty much Ollie McRae's head was like this. Makubela hit him in the back of the head like that, and it crunched it down. And from there, he pretty much didn't move from then onwards. Not sure you can complain about that red card. Says Grant, and 20-minute card. That is true. And then back to 15 for the South Africans in the second half, and 20-minute red card is fair. Although there are certain challenges that red cards seem like they're a little bit too short when they're 20 minutes. Like, he might have just paralysed that player, and there was no need to do it. But then, like, you know, South Africa will be back to 15 in the second half. So it hurts him, but not his team, if that makes sense, which is good in some regards, because they couldn't really control what he was going to do. The penalty goes the way of South Africa, 22 metres out from their line at the moment. Now that one has gone into touch. I'll never agree to the 20-minute red card, says Grant. And bloody kids these days, no discipline, so red card is not rest of the game out. It is not in this competition. In certain leagues it is, but in this one it is only a 20-minute red card, and then after 20 minutes, he's allowed to come back out onto the field. Or no, sorry, he's not allowed to, but someone of his position can make their way onto the field. It looks like there's actually a cut on one of the Australians' hairline here. That looked like Jack Barrett was bleeding a little bit. Of course, there's always going to be some massive shots coming in from these two sides. Nice attack and run from Williams. Goes on the outside to J.F. van Heeren. In fact, Jacobs, it was. Now Julius in the midfield. It's going to be the best opportunity for South Africa on attack throughout this game. We haven't really seen them have too much of the possession. And the counter-ruck, tell you what, they're not going to have much more, because Australia have got the ball back, but still sitting 0-0 between these two sides. To Stasto. I'm moving to 30 metres out. Yeah, cheap shot, intentional foul. Should be off for the entire game, says Panacci. And 20-minute red card ruling is the new normal for Southern Hemisphere. It is. Like, it's been around a little while for Super Rugby. I think they trialled it either last year or the year before, maybe, in the Bunnings NPC. But, yeah, it seems to be any competition that happens down south seems to have that rule, as well as the fact that it can be on-report reviewed, whereas, I mean, we saw the Champions Cup last weekend. They didn't have that ability for a yellow or a red card. Ruth wanted to infect you with a French wife, says Grant. And also after 20 minutes, he can get a replacement to make it 15 players again. Exactly right, yep. So he can't come back onto the field, but someone else for the blitz box can. So in his case, like before that stage, we'll probably see Ntushanga make his way onto the field, but he will stay out there once that red card is over, if that makes some sense. But yeah, for the rest of this first half, they're going to be playing with 14 men, the South Africans. Now rolling this one forward for Ethan Bester, hanging onto it at the back. Looks like Moose is waiting for that box kick, but they may not have to use it yet here. South Africa making about 15 to 20 metres with their rolling maul. If they can walk out of this first half with some sort of lead after having maybe 20 or 30% possession, that would be absolutely massive for them. Lakane goes to the short side. Australia straight on the ball, and they've managed to get the turnover again. They are relentless when it comes to the breakdown throughout this game, and perhaps something that they have been working on throughout the week. Loose ball, though, cleaned up by Julius, who then knocks it on. So they will go back for the original double knock on there, and will be South Africa's ball. I can see why it's 20 minutes, but then again, it's stupid. Says Peds Blaze, yeah, it definitely depends on the challenge. Like, there are some things, in my opinion, that don't seem serious enough for a red card for the whole game, but then they seem serious enough that it should be more than a yellow, if that makes sense. But we don't really have that type of card available. You know, like it's almost an orange card in some regards. The red card rule is of 20 minutes is a good thing. So most reds are marginal calls where intentional or intention to harm is not a factor. Yeah, I think that there are certainly sometimes, though, that 20 doesn't feel like enough. Like, I feel like in this case, like, and this is just from looking at it from a neutral standpoint, like, that looked pretty dodgy for his red card, if that makes sense. Right, I think that it's actually, is it Van Heeren who's made his way off the field? No, instead, they've taken Devan Fuller off the field. That is so that they can bring on CJ Erasmus as a replacement for the scrum. Australia now inside of their 22 will kick it back downfield. Nicely taken at the back by Mikel Damon. Moves up to the halfway line. Of course, with the wet conditions, handling's going to be a problem. That is fantastic work. I thought Wilcox got that ball. The referee says play on. South Africa now 42 metres out from the line. Every breakdown we're seeing Australia bring in 2 or so players to try and get that turnover. Nice attack and run here from the inside centre, Van Kirk. The intention does not matter. The laws of the game is important. But I think it's where, like, different referees see different interpretations of the laws is where people get a little bit confused, don't they? That's a wide cut-out pass from Williams, and it's going to be knocked on by Bester. They will go back for the original penalty advantage in favour of South Africa, where they might even have their first opportunity to add points on the board. Which, I mean, we've seen already points have been a rarity throughout this game. What's their plan here? It does look like they're kicking for the corner. Yes, they are. South Africa. I agreed this red should be for the entire game, says Panecci. Kicked into touch now from the baby box. They've got some good talent at 12, though, coming up through the ranks. Like, even this fella, his name is Philip Albert Van Nijkerk. And he looks like he's going to be just as handy as Bruce Sherwood was in the last game. And that's hard to do because Sherwood was absolutely phenomenal last week. Now, a little flick out the back door. Julius has knocked it on again. That is 2 knock-ons from 2 from that man throughout the early stages of this game. And the counter-attack now coming for the Australians. They will put boot to ball, looking for a bit of territory, and it is a good one. Gets them down to the 22. Damon almost slips over his own feet. Has to try and clear. It's being charged down by the Australians. And the penalty goes their way. Right. Now they have a decision to make. Do you take the first 3 if you're the Aussies? I think you do. But then they've got a man advantage. For 20 minutes, they're going to go for the 3. That is the right call. In this match, the ref's interpretation is taken out of the equation by the bunker review. Or sorry, the bunker's interpretation. Don't pronounce Fun Nykirk like that, Hamish. Is it not Fun Nykirk? Naykirk? Oh, because actually, is it Naykirk? Maybe? Could be. A 20-minute red card is a get-out-of-jail free card and unacceptable. I can't count how many times a red card has resulted in the player suffering the foul, not returning due to HIA failure. Is wrong, says Brian. You know what it is? It's Fun Nykirk. Oh, well, there you go. That kick has gone over from the Australians. Nykirk. See, I thought it was Nykirk. That's how I'd say it if it was English, but of course it's Afrikaans, isn't it? It's probably knee, yes, a Nykirk. Okay, I will never forget that now. And if I do, you have permission to just give me a quick week. One of those. That referee in the New Zealand Argies game was terrible, says Freshy Boat. But once again, like game by game, we see differences in interpretations of different rules, don't we? And the way you said means sex jerk. Oh, tell you what, that's a bit of fun then, isn't it? And how are you feeling, sweet pea, says Tony. I'm doing better, but still not great, I would say. Like we're hopefully going to be all right by the weekend with a little bit of hope. But you know, we'll be good to go by the weekend. We didn't do New Zealand Argentina, but that was only because I was a little bit behind because I woke up a bit later. There's actually going to be they just mentioned about how you can mark the ball off the kickoff. I think they just said one of the variations, although I don't think it was allowed there. Now on to the ball. Australia looking for the turnover, not able to get it. They're 22 metres out. Who won that game? New Zealand managed to win it in the end with a bonus point. Now going back across the right-hand side here, Moose. Now nice running forward from Nykirk, or Fun Nykirk, I should say. Or churches are sex churches if you're a Catholic. Oh, wow. Okay. Now across Lakani. Who's only about 7 metres from the line. This is a great chance for South Africa to add points on the board as Australia have taken the 3-0 lead. I think there's going to be an offside advantage in favour of the Junior Boks as well. More than 100 viewers and 30 likes. Come on, guys. Says O'Brien. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's greatly appreciated. You're being here for this contest. 3 metres out for the line. Still playing under penalty advantage. That is close to the line. They're going to be held up. Right. South Africa have a relatively easy 3-pointer if they want it here. But they are also only 5 metres out from the line. And it's starting to rain heavy. This looks like they want to go for the old school quick tap and go here. Question is, who's it going to be? Who takes the quick tap now? South Africa throwing Bester at the line. Probably a very viable option. Trying to roll away was the number one for the Aussies. Getting close, Jacobs. This is going to really test the Australian defence as the Junior Boks start to throw men at them. It almost became a rolling maul with how long that player was staying up. And yep, I don't say nay. That is sexual intercourse. I understand you pronounce those, says that it's Zema. I disagree with that, Sebastian, says Kelly. Now it's in 3 metres out from the line. Afrikaans and Dutch are not the same, says Zema. And there's one now 3 metres out from the line. Here comes, Julius was very close to making his way over the line. That is on the line. That is over. Referee didn't see it. And that is actually, I believe that was the touch judge who was saying, it's a try, it's a try, it's a try, please award it. But South Africa strike first on the try scorer sheet. They're just trying to work out who it is. I think it's JF van Heeren who has got over in the end. They were throwing absolutely everyone at the line. Yeah, I think it was JF van Heeren who got over and managed to get himself the try. just. Tamo tries. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, from the touchline, it was clear that he had got that one down. Referee was on the wrong side, though, so couldn't actually see the grounding. Afrikaans is a new and improved version of Dutch. Says Grant. That is going to be the first try for JF Van Heeren. I've heard good things about this man. We saw him play for the Bulls in the game up against the Northampton Saints in the quarterfinal of the Champions Cup. But the extras are good for South Africa, and they will now be 7 points to 3 up over the Australians. And boy, is that a confidence booster for them. Because we've got to remember, this side has hardly had any possession. They've hardly had any territory, and now they find themselves in a predicament here of leading by 4 points. That is an Afrikaans version of my grandson's name. Says Fleschen, and JF Van Heeren is the next Etzebeth. Says Benachi there. Oh, Joshua Bull has just actually called for the mark off the kickoff. That is something in the under-20s competition that they have incorporated. I believe that is to try and stop teams from getting forced back into their 22 and then just having to play kicking back to back to back. Distracted Kiwi has got their Jeepers, she's a wet one. Distracted Kiwi as opposed to Distracted Sports from early on. Same logo, almost different picture, possibly. And greetings, people. Hey, Hamish. Says Giles, welcome in. A line out throw here for the Australians, but Tuipulotu gets it in nicely for the Australians. They'll try and keep this one alive, and something that they really need is a try. A bit of rain at the rugby too. Says it distracted Kiwis. Now past our wide numbers for Australia. Looking for the corner. Tries to step, but it's wet underfoot. And he slips over. But the Australians are still 5 metres from the line. Good leg drive from Jack Harley. Now to the short side for Australia. Last thing they can afford to do is get isolated. They've just got over. And that is the try now. And Australia, it's just taken a try from the South Africans for them to finally realise how to score one. It's as if they needed to be shown how to do it. Close enough that they could. Says Charles, I'll give you that. Says Christian, welcome in. I guess, Brian, you're not being to a Catholic service. Says Kelly. I guess both stick to the standard versions and speak slowly. Says Grant. But great leg drive from the Australians to get over for that try. It's a very important one. I believe it is Dane Sawyers who's come up with that try. In fact, no. Was it? It's Shane Wilcox. How's he ended up where he was? He was pretty much playing as a first receiver. In that case, wanted the chance at a try. That is a fantastic kick again from Cullen Gray. And now after 36 minutes, Australia will take the lead back 10 points to 7. Yeah, Shane Wilcox just using his strength to be able to get that leg drive going forward. I think the South African lock there, I want to say it was. Or no, it might have actually been one of their loose board trio who tried to try and just push him narrowly back, keep him inside of the field of play. It just wasn't quite enough though. Lakane now. Sitting 4 minutes remaining in this half now for the South Africans to try and fire back with another try of their own. They're about 40 metres out now from the Australian line. In fact, a little bit closer, around 30. Now, Reno Hurst. We haven't seen him have too many carries throughout this game. Now, to the left-hand side. Tackle made on JF Van Heeren, the one try scorer at the moment for the South Africans, and that is going to be knocked on by the Shanga. Cross kick attempted from the Australians. I think it was close. Yes, it went out on the full. So they will go back for the original knock-on. And Afrikaans is an improved Dutch. So it's really dumbed down Dutch. It lacks grammar and structure. Ooh, I'll tell you what. Those are fighting words, Katzenel. I hope the Wallabies to win. Because then the under-20 All Blacks are still first. Says Kristen Rush. And I talked about it last week as well. How crucial of a decision it may be for South Africa when they had that last-minute penalty and they didn't look to go for one last try to try and get the win up against New Zealand. They accepted the draw, which in the case of the overall game made sense. Like they were playing with 14 men on the field, including their hooker who had gone off, so they'd have to bring on the new hooker. That would have caused a few disruptions overall, but in such a short competition. We've got to remember, it's only 3 weeks. You have to make sure you're getting every point available. Oh, referee just having another stoppage here at scrum time. Part of the game that hasn't been the smoothest running throughout this match. Afrikaans people started playing rugby and war games by the British, says Ritsima. 2 minutes left. Australia, they are only just outside of their 22. Another try here would help them out, but I don't think it would secure a win as of yet. I think that the Junior Boks are still well and truly in this contest, even though they're down by the 3 and they have that red card. Of course, the red card will come to a close in the second half, seeing as it is only a 20-minute red with the competition rules. Ball has come in. Taking it off the back there, the number 8, Harley. It's going to be charged down. Australia now stuck inside of their 22, and we'll have to look for the touchline. It's a decent clearance on about 28 metres out now from the line. Why don't you do the first game tonight? Because I woke up a little bit late today, seeing as I'm still sick. Plus, during that time, we were still having tea and whatnot. So I got to watch it. It was a good game for the New Zealanders. Coming out of the gate, scoring in about 70 seconds was very impressive. But yeah, we were just still quite busy during that contest. Of course, Afrikaans has grammar. Took all the unnecessary grammatical rules left over from German and threw it out to make communication easier, says Grant there. That's going to be the penalty now, going the way of the Australians after the line out. And just no clear release from the South African number 8, Jacobs. You will not find a more floral and descriptive language than Afrikaans. Netherlands, not so much, says Charles. Now 45 seconds remaining in this half. It's going to be kicked high and long from the Australian fly half. He's come into this game doing pretty decently, Cullen Gray. He's been kicking his kicks over. Of course, one of the main things that you need in slippery, wet conditions like this, taking every point that's available and just trying to make the most of it. Now 20 seconds remaining in the half. Another throw in here for Tuipulotu. Mostly claimed by the Australians, who look to get a rolling maul going, pretty similar to what we saw for the South Africans. It's already moved forward 10 metres, going slightly on the angle. Junior Boks trying to defend it, and they've now given away the penalty advantage. Australia looking to the short side, playing under the advantage as well. That ball's going to be dropped from Stanny Forth. He's complaining that the pass wasn't good, but the only thing that didn't help him there was the fact that he didn't catch the ball. If he had held on to it, he'd had a lot more success. I think he's asking for the pass to be in front of him, but I think he still should have been able to take it. Afrikaans is so much more than Dutch, with the native African and European and Latin and Black and Indonesian and other cultures having an influence. I think that's what that word is anyway. So much richer than Dutch, the Dutch can't even play, says Ritzema. Oh, Australia are actually going to take on the 3 points here. Now, they're about 40 metres out, maybe about 43 on the angle, so it's not the easiest kick of the day for this youngster, Cullen Gray. But I mentioned how he's been kicking pretty decently. So if anyone's got a decent shot of getting it over, it's probably him. Struck it well. He's missed it away to the left-hand side. Hit the distance, but just not quite the accuracy. So halftime in this contest, 10 points to 7 in favour of the Australians. So a close game at the moment between these two sides. A little bit closer than I anticipated. I actually did feel like South Africa would have a little bit of an edge going into the halftime sheds. Felt like they didn't play too badly up against New Zealand in the conditions that they had to deal with. Jack Harley just saying there that in the second half they have to really pour it on. Feels like he and his side haven't quite been able to make the most of that red card. Now, of course, that red card is going to be expiring very soon. And the Aussies under-20 team always looks like they're much older than the other teams. Not sure if it's the same here today. No, it's about the same. Like, I saw someone make a comment about one of the South African players last week. They said that he looks like he's got 2 children and has got a mortgage. But, like, yes, just some of these guys do look a lot older. And that's the thing. I would almost say like you guys would probably say, nah, you're joking. But I think that I look younger than some of these under-20s players. Like some of them look like they're about 28, 27, somewhere around there. I don't know how old I look. I feel like I look quite old, I think. It's hard to say. Sometimes I feel like I look slightly younger, so I don't know. It's just somewhere around that mid-20s, I think most people think that I am. We have there who got sent off. Was it bad? Says distracted Kiwi. It was pretty bad. So it was Mabasa Mkubela, the number 1 for the South Africans, and pretty much what happened was Australia were making a human centipede type scenario of about 4 players backed up. How do I do this like that? Pretty much. So they had about 4 players, and like it was never going to change anything. They were rolling it back, getting ready for a box kick. One of the players had his head down like that, and then the South African player comes in, shoulders him right to the back of there, and crunches his head down, and then he went off on a stretcher because he hadn't really moved since getting the challenge put in on him. So it was pretty disgusting, to be honest, in terms of challenges. Definitely deserved the red card, but it doesn't look like it's really going to cost South Africa too much because 20-minute red card, they'll have someone back out on the field in the near future. What was the score between New Zealand and Argentina, please? Says Johan. For that game, New Zealand were able to get themselves the win with a bonus point and the end score in that contest. I'll just get the exact number. New Zealand had 40... What was it? It was 40-something. Where are we? New Zealand won... Is it going to tell me the score? 43-20. There it is. Is the Boks good enough to win by 7? I think so. I think that they've got a decent chance. Sorry, unnecessary question mark. Love the human centipede. Says distracted Kiwi. Hey, you look like a spring chicken, my boy. It's like my boy with the... I see what you mean by the question mark, because it sounds like you're asking if I'm your child. I can believe that, Hamish. Saw some dude in the English under-20 team from last year. Looked older than some of the Boks team itself. Says Charles. And also we have got there... the French always looked older. You've got Bryce, says Charles, in there as well. Yeah, second half. Not too far away from getting underway, ladies and gentlemen. We will quickly see if we can actually get some stats for this game, if we're lucky. See whether or not they've got it somewhere for this competition. Hopefully they do have it. Fixtures and results. We'll go here. There, hopefully. Some exciting international fixtures are coming up just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. I should also mention, for anyone wondering about what is coming up for this Under-20 Rugby Championship competition, the games are taking place this weekend. And that is going to be on Sunday. South Africa play Argentina. Depending on the result of this game, that will help determine who actually wins the overall competition. And then also alongside that, we'll go results and fixtures. Okay, that's the wrong one. That's the over 20s Rugby Championship. Okay, I don't think we got many stats for this one. But yeah, next game and the last game of the weekend will be Australia versus New Zealand in the Under-20s Rugby Championship as well, which could heat up to be quite a entertaining contest if the two sides stay as even as they are here. You look refreshed, younger. What's the secret? A girl. Says the outlier in there. I mean, I was sick during the weekend, and now I'm still sick, but I don't think I'm as sick. So that might be it, a little bit. Anthony O'Sullivan, utilizing all my accounts, trying to create a vibe, says Tony. And there's, oh, you got a lot of YouTube accounts, Tony. Dear Kiwi Lad, never say, yeah, I know what it means, which is good. I've been called it many times, fun fact. You go home, Australia, says Charles, and go Australia, says Don't Till Deaf. Although Australia are already home, because this is in the Sunshine Coast that this competition's taking place. Still a little bit of rain around in the Sunshine Coast, though, a little bit deceptive, the name. We've seen 2 tries being scored throughout the first half. Van Heerden for the South Africans, and then Wilcox is the man who was able to score it for the Australians. Lovesick, says Outlier. Nah, just a cold, unfortunately, did end up hitting me throughout the weekend, which was relatively unfortunate. because it's always the busiest weekends that we end up getting sick, because the leg before that, it was the sevens that was on. And yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't go well for us. Normally follows Hamish, says Charles. Yeah, happens a little bit. I've been sworn at, I would say, in about 20 different languages, which is something that I should put on my CV, because that's kind of impressive, isn't it? Like, I've been called a lot of swear words. And don't worry, we've taught Hamish all the important words. Says Grant there, but second half won't be too far away. They're normally pretty quick with getting them back out onto the field for the under-20s, normally around a 10-minute break, and then they are back out there ready to run around and have another big 40-minute period. But this is going to be such an important 40 minutes for the overall scheme of this Rugby Championship, because if we see South Africa come out firing and they manage to get themselves a win with a bonus point, the last leg is going to be so important. That is round 3. That is taking place on Sunday in 5 days' time. And that is some feat, Hamish. I am impressed. Yeah, it's interesting. Who'd swear at you, you little... says Tony. To be fair, you've sworn on the channel, Tony, haven't you? Like, when we've had you come on, and I'm like, oh, Tony's going to be PG today. And then the first word that comes out of Tony's mouth is a 4-letter word starting with F. Yeah. He's probably sworn more on the channel than George, but that's only because he's been more on the channel than George recently, I would say. Come and visit South Africa, dear Kiwi lad. We will treat you, says Retsima, and here is one, says Novmum. And who likes My Little Pony out of Lee, Reed, or Jonathan? You always say one of them, Ollie, but I keep on forgetting, to be honest. But I know that Lee's the oldest, because you've told me that 14 times. But other than that, I can't remember who was the My Little Pony boy out of the 3. We have got there, Go the Baby Box, says Cape Rebel League. Yeah, like, first half overall, I don't think it was too bad for the South Africans. We've got to remember they were playing with only 14 men for the second 20 minutes. I felt like Philip, Albert, Van Niekerk in the midfield, pretty decent. Julius was struggling, though, and he's a player who I was told is one for the future. But unfortunately, I think of about the 6 times that I've seen him have the ball, we've probably seen him only touch the ball, probably hang on to the ball, maybe about 3 times if he's lucky. As a golf guy, I do play much. Not at the moment. Once I'm not sick, though, I'm going to start getting into the golf again. Because, yeah, I haven't been doing much exercise over the time that I've been unwell. So, yeah, I'm going to get back out on the course, hit a few balls, see how we go. And Table Mountain have the most indigenous plant species alone than all of Britain. I have more indigenous, there we go, we needed the N in there. Thank goodness, Hamish. I thought we were just bad. One man down hits any team. Yeah, although it was their own fault, if that makes sense, because it was a pretty bad, cynical foul from the South African prop. Are you a hooker or a slicer? I'm more of a slicer if out of the 2. I can't actually hook unless I fabricate it normally. What is your name? My name is Hamish. Second half, not too far away, ladies and gents. Looking through at who is going to be available in the second 40 minutes for the Australians. They've got Lily, Edwards, and Alatini as the front row. Cordukes and Liddy as the other loose forward and locking combinations that can make their way onto the field. Phillipson, Fowler, and Palu will be the back replacements for the South Africans. They've got Erasmus and Tishanga, who's already made his way onto the field, and Badenhorst, I should say, as the number 18, De Vol at 19, with Muffy at 20. Bruce Sherwood is definitely one who can change this game later on. And then also Mars there at number 23. Where do you watch it? So for us here in New Zealand, it's available on Sky Sport. In Australia, it's Stan Sport. And then in South Africa, it's Super Sport. Those are your 3 options, but they are all paid subscriptions. I don't dispute that, Hamish. Just glad we will be back to 15 in the second half, says Charles. Hamish, you can only hook if you get paid, says Grant. And have you checked out the odds for this weekend Super Rugby? Not yet, no. But I know that me and Tim at some stage will probably film the next episode of the Rugby Recap, where I will get to see a little bit more of the information. What odd is the one I should be looking out for, Novmum. Is there like a surprise one? Probably Hurricanes Blues might be the one that you're thinking. Yeah, just showing there. Lorenzo Julius. Okay, they're saying he's doing well defensively. I was going to say they can't really praise his attack because every time he's had the ball in this game, he's dropped it. Which sounds harsh, but it's also true. But hopefully second half, he'll come right. Now, it's going to be kicked off by Williams to get us underway. Australia taking the mark inside of the 22. It's a new law that has been tested, I guess you could say, throughout this Rugby Championship. I'm not sure if I like it. I feel like it's a bit weird, but then at the same time, I think it's supposed to try and stop like opposition sides just booting it deep for the sake of making the opposition kick it into touch. I think it's supposed to keep the ball alive for a little bit longer. There's a brilliant shot coming in, though, and it looks like one of the South African players may have gone to sleep here. I think they might just check this to make sure that he's all right. But he has stayed down. We're going to see it here. Mikel Damon runs back inwards. I'm not sure what knocked him out there. Was it it might have been the prop coming through. Did he get a little bit of a shoulder to the head? But he was well and truly sleeping. Damon was down for nap time, and he doesn't look like he's too far out of high school. But they're just going to check on him. Yeah, it looked like a weird knockout. I think we're going to need to see a replay of it. But I think what happened was the two-man challenge came in, and it might have just clipped him right on the button that then took him down. But I don't think they're checking for foul play here either. I think they're just saying it's a freak knockout. For now, it means that we are going to have a bit more of a stoppage. As the team's a drinks break after 30 seconds in this half. Oh, hang on. There is head contact, I've just heard. Commentators are talking flat out. I wish they would stop talking so that we can hear what the TMO is saying. But I think the TMO just said there was head contact. So this might end up being a yellow card. Or is it? They've just said that he fell into the tackle. And one of the Australian players, that's a nice touch, just going over to check on him. Make sure that ear is going to be all right. Ostrich meat just as good. Right, we're going to see the replay here. So I think it's Jack Barrett. Yeah, so he dips his head forward. It's a weird one. Because he just, like he went down right and he placed the ball back first and then he kind of slept, if that makes sense. It's like a delayed reaction to a hit that was on the field. But there is going to be a bit of a stoppage. He is actually still down in the background. Both sides just warming up at the moment, just trying to keep themselves fresh. While he does get this medical treatment, they will probably have him on a stretcher as well. I've had ostrich meat and kangaroo, very nice. Ostrich meat is the best. We still need to get Hamish to try it. Is it any better than turkey? Because like I know that chicken's pretty good, right? Then turkey I'm not as big of a fan of as chicken. So I'm wondering if as the bird gets bigger, maybe I'll become less and less of a fan of the bird's meat. You know? Hello, Hamish back. Bad reception here. Says Arusa, welcome back. They are just showing highlights of New Zealand versus Argentina. Now, they've got the score as 38 points to 20, but it was actually 43 points to 20 in the end for that one. Ostrich is red meat, Hamish. Is it? As in like dark meat, like the legs of a chicken, or like actually like red meat as in like it's could be mooing, but it's a bird. Like that kind of red meat. Well, I'm not a fan of booing players. The daggone Aussie player was dangerous and deserves a boo. A red meat without fat, says Retsima. And turkey is harder to cook well. It is. We've still got a bit more of a stoppage go red card. Or South Africa red card, go South Africa and dark red. Says Hanger Rat. Right, so it sounds like Devon Fuller is now back out onto the field. Ostrich is very healthy, says Brian. I might have to try it sometime. I don't think they sell it here in New Zealand. Tell you what, we'll do a Google quickly while we've got this stoppage. Ostrich meat, New Zealand. The chances of this existing, I was going to say, is very rare, but you can buy it from Highway Heritage Stop. Ooh, it looks very dark, doesn't it? You can get the back steak, you can get the back fillet. Oh no, it's out of stock. You can get the pearl, you can get the neck. Interesting. So yeah, you can actually buy ostrich here in New Zealand. Well, I don't think I'll be doing that though. Looks like we've still got this stoppage though. Did Amos just say a bird that moves turns the meat red? No, I said that like as in like is it dark meat like a chicken's leg, because that's normally a little bit darker due to them using it more, or is it as dark as like a cow? You know, it's kind of got that stage of red meat. Just order it, says Hangarat. Yeah, but what if I cook it badly? Like, can you get salmonella from ostrich? I assume if it's a red meat, then you can't. Maybe. Irish, how come you didn't cover the New Zealand RGs before? Because I was up a little bit later. I am still sick, but we're working on it. We're trying to get a little bit better by the weekend. But I was still having tea at around 7:30 as well, so that didn't really help in terms of the overall planning. Those tackles deserve a banning, deliberately done. Did South Africa get another card? They did not. So it was a South African player who got injured there, Michael Damon. They checked it just to make sure that it was all right, and pretty much he's just led into the challenge with his head and has taken just a really big, like kind of, it's an unfortunate shot, but there wasn't really anything the Australian tackler could do. Chicken is also not meat, Amos. Chicken is a veg. Is that right? It looks like now Michael Damon is also going to be taken from the field on a stretcher. Those people are very busy today, unfortunately. That is the second young player stretched off. Ostrich is way better than any poultry, says Ritzema. Salmonella from chicken only, I believe, says Charles. It's really good, says Fleshin. Like ostriches, have you had it, Fleshin? Where'd you find an ostrich? You're in the UK, aren't you? Where'd you get one of those from? Now, we're about to have this line out, ladies and gentlemen. It will be Australia's line out throw. We had a bit of a delay there due to the injured player of Michael Damon. He's waving to the crowd, which is nice to see, so hopefully he is going to be all right. Yeah, it's the veg that so often accompanies a real meat. Says Angarat, my wife is a beautiful blonde with long flowing hair and beautiful blue eyes. Says Ritzema. Lucky you. And I was right at the bottom of the table, says Annoy. Yeah, they are currently, but if they win here, that would, of course, give them a bit more of a lead. That's going to be a free kick to South Africa right off the get-go here. It looks like they want to take it quickly. Here comes Moose. Goes across to Lakani. Let's put the shoulder down. Trying to drive his way forward. Across to Ethan Bester. Now, Jay Funhuren, I should say. Ostrich looks like red meat, very lean but tasty. Fleshin is Welsh, lol, says Charles. Yeah, although he lives in the UK, I think, doesn't he? Or am I wrong? What do you call a female salmon? Salmonella? Nice. Okay, that'll do. 39 minutes remaining now. Big run for from Tian Jacobs. Moose going across again to Lakani. The Australians eat emu? I don't think so, no. Not that maybe somewhere. Like most, depending on where you are in the world and depending on what animals are around, most people eat anything, don't they? Wales is also still the UK. That's true. Out. Chance for Tishanga. Moves to about 10 metres out from the line. Spin and drop ball from Ethan Bester. Counter-attacking chance now for the Australians. Option goal himself was Goldsbrook. Or Goldsborough, I should say. Only slow-moving emus. That's really tough, though, says Annoy. Kangaroo meat is in the local supermarkets. You can get it over here. We have ostrich farms up here. Well, there we go. We have 3 ostrich in our garden. They lay eggs which are way larger than chicken eggs, 24 chicken eggs, and 1 ostrich egg. I don't know if I'd eat an ostrich egg. You know, it just seems like it would be a bit too big for my liking. It's well controlled at the back from the Australians after the knock-on. Ritsema said, Kiwi what is your name? We appreciate your commentary as we often cannot watch a game. At least your commentary keeps us informed in the action. So my name is Hamish. Thank you very much for your kind words. Looks like another injury, this time for an Australian player. This has been a game of players going down and not getting up, unfortunately, but I think it's a knee injury this time rather than a neck or head knock. 43 minutes, and I believe ostrich eggs are very rich, says Charles. Yeah, although it probably depends on what part you get, because you can imagine you get a full mouthful of yolk if they're that big, aren't they? Slap bang in the middle of the, I say it's in Oxford, says Fleshin. Now thrown in. Nicely taken by Australia. Been the strongest side when it comes to line-out time throughout this contest. Looks like the ball is going to be available now for the Australians to be able to roll back here with Sharples. A better angle, close to the touchline, but it's well cleaned up by South Africa, and the penalty goes back for Australia. They're already at the penalty advantage. Hippopotamus meat and crocodile meat is much better than kangaroo meat, says Ritsema. I haven't heard of someone eating a hippo before, I'll be honest. I heard of people eating crocodile, not here though. I met a Philippine gal. She prepared an egg of a half-developed chicken inside. Looked terrible, but she loved it. Oh, that's got a name. But I can't think of what the egg's called. And it's got like the literal body of the little chicken in it. You need a whisk attached to a drill to beat an ostrich egg for scrambled eggs, says Grant. By the way, we love New Zealand rugby except for John Kerwin, says Ritsema. Now the ball's going to be thrown in by the Australian replacement hooker. It's not back onto the side of the Aussies. It's Bullet, says Grant. And hippo is apparently similar to pork, is it not? Not sure. I can't imagine eating a hippo would be that, rewarding. Because surely there's a lot of fat on a hippo. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's just all meat. I don't think you'd have a hook that would hang up a hippo like you can with, a pig. Now 40 metres out from the line for the Australians. Still 35 minutes. Size in English, Hamish. Says Fleshin. Those Chinese eggs, Bullet. Says Chinese, it almost says Chinese, but I meant says Charles. Now that ball's gone into partially charged down. One of the Aussies able to get a hand to it. Yes, Hamish, it was revolting to see, says Annoy. Now Barrett wants it at first receiver, dragged down by Tian Jacobs. Has to roll out of the way and does just that. Another knock on this time by, I think it was Dane Sowers. It's just a few too many handling errors throughout this game for both of these sides. I'm sure they would have liked much more free-flowing game of rugby. Doesn't seem like the easiest day in the world to be able to hang on to that ball. Probably is better than it biting you, Hamish. Yeah, but I don't know. For some reason, a hippo for me is one of those animals that I'll be like, I think I'm all right, thank you. You know? I don't think it's one of those ones that I'd be extremely keen on. But who knows? Maybe. We do get hippo meat when they are cold for protective control measures, thus not on regular shelves. You eat bullet with salt, pepper, and vinegar, says Grant. Quick day taken by the Australians. Again, another free kick going against South Africa at the scrum time. I don't think I could make myself eat a bullet, but I did try fried mopani worms. Do you crocodile in South Africa? Says Hanoi. Back across, replacement lock here for the Australians. And Cord Dukes, ball stolen by South Africa again. And Ethan Bester now breaking through the defensive line. 30 metres out from their own line now. South Africa, they need some attacking momentum. Can it be Kriya? That's a knock on. So that won't be it. How you doing, Kane? Says Blue Saturday. I certainly am. One day I will buy a Kiwi bird. Says Grant. I think you'll get in a bit of trouble if you did. South Africa had the first heart transplant in the world. Transplant, I should say. I said that very American, didn't I? It was my parents' neighbour. It's going to be another ball that's gone down, and this time a knock-on against the Australian. Scrum feed for South Africa. Johannes says hippo very nice like beef. But there we go. See, I feel like if I was a butcher and someone brought me a hippo, which would be quite hard to do, I'd have no idea where to start on it because it's just mammoth, isn't it? And an ostrich kick is way more dangerous than a Kiwi kick. Says Ritsma, are you doing Sharks vs Benetton? I believe so. At this stage, it is scheduled in, but yeah, of course, we'll see. Hopefully, we can do all the URC games. Don't get Grant started on eating Kiwi birds, says the Big V8 show. I reckon a mower kick would be hard to take, says Annoy. Currently, the Australian, the rest of their bench warming up. Warthog tastes like a very fatty pork / venison. Okay. Now rolling forward. It's scrum time, only by like half an inch for South Africa. That one's going to be popped up by Moose. And behind, awkward bounce of the ball, but well cleaned up by the try scorer, Shane Wilcox. Australia in possession once again now. Back across to the right-hand side. Rolling it back again, looking for the box kick here. I don't know who's going to win this game. At the moment, it seems close enough that either side need one good play, and I might just buy them the victory. It's kicked high from Sharples. It's going to be knocked back onto the side of the Australians. I believe almost did they have the advantage? Yes, they did for a knock-on. It would have been a great turnover from Ethan Bester. South Africa had the first recorded successful penis and face transplants. Well, there you go. You'd have to hope that they didn't get them around the wrong way, wouldn't you? Or else you'd accidentally end up with something other than a nose on your face. Hippo very dangerous. More people killed in South Africa. They run at a big pace. Says Johannes. Yeah, they're quite relentless, hippos. I think I saw that they can run at like 30 miles per hour or something like that. So they're quick enough. On the farm, we play rugby with ostrich eggs. Developing nimble fingers. That seems like it would go wrong very quickly, doesn't it? What about a rugby ball? Now scrum feed for the Australians. Oh, there's a lot of movement there before the ball even came in, but now it's out the back door for the Aussies. Harley goes across the Sharples. Another bit of handling. It's gone backwards, they've said. Now ball on the outside. Another drop ball. Wilcox almost cleaned up by one of the South African players. Just too many handling errors from both teams at this point of the contest. It just seems to be every time they just can't quite keep that one in their hands. And to be fair, the passing hasn't been the best. So I think that has also hurt them a little bit in this game. But, you know, there's still been opportunities. South Africa breaking off the back now. Man, they had to give a 20-minute break off the field. Fuller. Like he's pretty fresh at the moment, I should say. It looks like a bit of push and shove, bit of feeling out there on the field now. Another rock on. That is from JF Van Heeren, the captain of the Junior Boks. A wild ball roaming free, comparable to baby rhino. They often found in pools. Do you find rhinos in your pools? Can rhinos swim? Because I know hippos can't swim. They actually, they bounce. They jump off the bottom of the water. So if you got deep water, you haven't got a hippo because that thing's probably drowned, unfortunately. Actually, yeah, not good. Could see off the field for Adam de Vol as a change that they've just made. So it looks like New Zealand will be top of the table. I wouldn't guarantee that because South Africa are still in this game. They're only 3 points down. Australia are, in the nicest way possible, ballsing it up as much as South Africa are in this game. There's been so many handling errors, and it may only take one good play where a team hangs on to the ball. Like, South Africa have a good chance of winning this because even though they're down, perhaps that's that little bit more motivation near the end of the game. Set for 3, looks ready made for a professional team. Says Hanoi. So that is Reno Hurst. Ronan Leahy. They are just looking at the moment. The inside centre for the Australians hasn't had a huge amount of the ball throughout this game. Rhinos don't swim. So they're probably the same. They probably sink. The Bok team is really bad. Says Nervous Jack. And to be fair, like Australia is struggling as well. Maybe it is the fact that this game is once again played on the Sunshine Coast where we've only seen rain throughout the last 2 weeks of play. Muffy onto the field as well, I do see. Like I've just said, 30 minutes remaining in this game. We've had quite a few stoppages due to injuries. Both sides still going to be up for it. So we have had, just to be clear, we've had 50 minutes of rugby played across an hour and a half, which is quite slow. Another penalty going the way of Australia. I think that the South African scrum, I'm not sure what they're getting penalised for. I think it's early engagement, and they've just done it about 3 or 4 times throughout this game. Rhinos look like kinds of the water until elephants come there. Says Hanoi. Oh, look like kings of the water. Mashunga this time. To go a little bit early. Is it not the monsoon season there in Queensland at the moment? It's not looking flash for their weather, to be honest, which is why I'm so confused at why they decided that a place that's going to have rain every single game would be a good location for a new competition. Like, surely there was somewhere else that would have been a little bit of a better option. We are just seeing there the Australian line-out throw. Young player also on the sideline who has been collecting the balls was just mimicking how he would throw it in. Maybe a future under-20 star for the Australians. A nice attacking run here from Sawyers. A yellow from the South African scrum. Not quite, but it must be getting close as they keep on giving away the penalty. I think the biggest problem, though, is because they got a red card, it means that we'd end up in the scenario of like uncontested scrums, which then puts Australia with like a 2-man advantage. Future Waterboy says Justin. That one's going to be kicked in behind. Another knock on. I think that's Leahy again. Hamish, who does New Zealand have next? So they've got Australia in the last round, and Argentina have got South Africa. Now, they are both taking place on Sunday. So only in about 4 days' time. South Africa versus Argentina, as well as Australia versus New Zealand. A couple of good games around the corner. And, of course, depending on who wins this game, that will heavily determine how important those next 2 games are. We have got their favourites are giraffes. They're actually so dangerous, but soft-hearted. But they make us angry because our Camildoring tree, thorn tree, can't grow as giraffe keeps trimming it. He's just being helpful. You know, he's like, these leaves are getting too big. You know, your tree's out of control, so you just bite them off to save you some time. What a generous giraffe. That's going to be a nice run forward. Now for South Africa, I believe it was their replacement, CJ Erasmus. Did England play in this tournament? They did not. No, just the Rugby Championship teams are involved. What a bunch of clueless idiots, says Brian Hayes. Is that the South African or Australian team, Brian, that you are referring to? Please update the time. It's currently 54 minutes in. At the moment, my apologies that one was a bit stuck. Now it looks like Moose again will go for the box kick here. It's going to be kicked downfield. It's gone. That's out on the full, is it not? Yes, it is. Another mistake from South Africa. Australia thought about taking it quickly with Cullen Gray. In fact, it was Wilcox who ran down the wing. Now 25 minutes remaining. New Zealand beat Argentina 43 points to 20. Is French a part of it? No, they are not. They were a part of the under-26 nations. I thought Tony was the only one allowed to bring up league on here, says Fleshen. Looks like a change is going to be made now. Oh, okay, Johnny Fowler makes his way on, and Cullen Gray will make his way off. It's quite a big change at this stage of the match, mainly because he has got the kicks over Cullen Gray, other than, of course, that last 1.5 big bump off there for the Australian inside centre as they look to attack once more. Sharples gets the pass away. Fowler already gets his hands on the ball. To the left-hand side now. They've got numbers here, Australia. They've gone with a skip pass. Guess what? There's no one out there and it's gone into touch. Wankers, all of them. See, wankers makes me think you're Australian because I don't think it is a Afrikaans word. So yeah, I'd assume the Aussies, but also you're chucking in the South Africans for good measure, I assume. Not even Tony should be allowed to bring up league here. Both teams look really basic. Says Angarat, and league is good too, says Annoy. And Rugby has beauty art in action. It's going to be overthrown by South Africa again. That's about the fourth line out. That's been unsuccessful. Knock on from the Australians when they look to go out wide. Every time. When's the next real under-20 tournament with Europe, says Mana Black? I think it's in a couple years' time. Maybe, or they might have one sooner than that. They might give them an opportunity before that stage. But every time, like these two sides have dropped the ball more than, you know, than anything we would have liked. South Africans say wankers depending on generation. Do they? I didn't realise it was a South African word. I assume that is from Brian there for the baby box. No scrum, no lineouts, no sport. John Kerwin says Ritsama. Hello, you'd be surprised. They're pretty advanced, says Justin. Now another stoppage. South Africa this time with the scrum feed. This is anyone's game. And it's going to be the case of who plays the least badly for the last maybe 3 or 4 minutes of this game. Big push. Australia, scrum wins. They've won pretty much every line out in every scrum. And they almost just dropped the ball again with Goldsborough. It's ruled as a tackle now. In 26 nations every year. Says Gus, that is true. That's going to be knocked on by Julius. So he has now touched the ball 3 times in this game and knocked it on 3 times. That's not a very good payoff. More scrums in this game than the total amount of Wallabies tries at the Rugby World Cup. Says Freshy Boat. And it's an English word. Says Hanger Rat. And so many mistakes. Patrick Tuipulotu would be proud. South African wines are the best. Says Ritsima. Yeah, Julius. If he could catch the ball, he'd be great. You know, field position says Advani. Now they are 40 metres out from South Africa's line. That's about where we've been for the last maybe 5 minutes. We just had so many scrums and so many mistakes from these two sides that no one's really making any metres. But yeah, 40 metres out. Australia now with the scrum feed. It looks like Baden Hust is making his way onto the field for Hurst. Front row goes down again at scrum time. Now, I don't think they're too keen on penalising young players at scrum time, but they might have to very soon here. Well, we'll go like this. We'll go like that as well. There we go. Right, another scrum feed. 22 minutes left. Can we see something that makes us go yay? Because at the moment, it's just drop ball after drop ball after drop ball. That's going to be passed out wide, knocked backwards this time. At least it didn't go forward for the Australian winger to Penny Grace. They are with the wine play rugby, says Brian. Out of the Junior Wallabies, hold on and win. Will make Sunday more interesting, says Freshy Boat. What a bad game this is. Yeah, it's been awful. Tits for hands. Wouldn't that be quite a spectacle? Now going off to the left-hand side. Oh, rough pass. No one was there for the Australians, but now it sits up. I know that wet conditions can only be blamed for so much of this, though. Like, yes, the ball is slippery, but these guys, surely they've held a wet rugby ball before. That was close to a forward pass on the halfway line. Onto the ball here for the South Africans. Doesn't get the turnover. Not a good game, says Ritsema. A big scaffolding collapse in my hometown yesterday. Looked very bad from what I saw, says Justin. I wonder if the Waratahs of the Force can sign up some of these guys for this weekend. So many injuries in Super. Kicked him high now. Sharples has just decided we don't want it anymore. We're about to drop it. So we'll give it to South Africa, who look for a kick towards the touchline. That's a good kick. 45 metres out now from Australia's line. It will be the line out. Some very deep breaths being taken here, though. Not sure what happened to Joshua Bull. Did he get hit late? No, he didn't. He was just gassed. By the looks of it, he might have some sort of rib injury because that seemed to be about where he was holding on himself. This game, like I said, it's going to be who can make one less mistake than your opposition. One side will make 20 errors, the other will make 19, and the side with 19 errors will win. Still 20 minutes remaining. Line out is loose, and the South Africans are now going to be in position. This is a great chance for Bester to start moving forward. He's knocked it on the ground. Luckily, the refs at this point have said, we don't care anymore. We don't want to see another scrum. So it is going to be play on. Looks like McPherson has got cramp. He needs a bit of a stretch. I wonder what the conditions the South Africans players stay in Aussie. I'd assume that they'll have same location as some of these other sides, or at least pretty similar. Does New Zealand produce wine? Quite a bit of wine. I think they produce about at one point they were in the top about 7 in the world for wine production or something like that. That might just be a number that I've made up, but I think I saw a graph one day. Now moving forward, Badenhorst doing nicely. Back across to the left-hand side. Here's Lakane. Sits down one player for the Australians. Up to 22 metres out. Some would say that neither of these sides deserve to win this game. But who's going to show in this last 20 minutes that they were working just that little bit better? Now, well, that lock's not very, very bulky, is he? Adam the Vol. He looks like he doesn't weigh too much, although he's probably still a big boy. He just looks like his legs would be snapped in an instant. Julius now, moving forward. He was asking for the high tackle. Referee says, nah, can't be bothered. Now 15 metres out from the line. Now that's going to be an offside advantage. They've got a try, South Africa. Bester, who's looked like probably the best option to score in the second half. Sorry, I had to do it. We needed a pun or something. It's been a lot of knock-ons throughout the second half. New Zealand wine is one step away from being vinegar, says Grant. And also, there's not cricket, says Ritsima. Box Lumu, a guy in New Zealand is the premium wine country, says Dime Till Death. Had a good bottle of Australian wine at the weekend, says Leshan. And which Bester? So it was the winger. Lete Lily Bester, that one. Rather than Ethan Bester, who's already gone off the field for Erasmus, I believe. And there you go, says Hangarat. Yeah, so the try is scored. South Africa take the lead in what has been a great game. Said no one at this point, but maybe the last 20 minutes is when it's actually going to start heating up. Of course, the last time that we saw South Africa score, Australia scored within like 2 minutes. So that might be the case again here. Most of them are defence force, friend now in Australia, but still want biltong, borrows and chutney, says Ritsima. Is Bathos still on the field? Says Zamantangwa. He is, yes. Unless they've just changed him. No, I don't think they have. Adam Devol is on there as one of the loose forward replacements. He came on for Kutsia, so I think that, yeah, he's still out there on the park. And he's a good option for them. He's a big man. That's going to be another penalty. He's just actually hit that ball up. Sherwood's now onto the park. That is going to be for Funny Kirk, which is great news because he was sensational last week. Now, we're going to kick this one into the touch from Thurlon Williams. South Africa have taken all momentum here in a game that didn't have momentum. But now it does because teams are catching the ball and they're starting to do very well. I have a feeling that this last 20 minutes is actually going to be pretty good, hopefully. Not Australian, Austrian. Yeah, no, I missed the L, didn't I? The L and the extra A, that's going to be slapped back. You look good. And sound much healthier today. Glad to see, says Ilma. Yeah, we are on the mend. Hopefully we'll be... Oh, that's an Australian penalty this time. Do they want to take it quickly? No, he's told, don't do it, by Toby McPherson. But, yeah, we'll hopefully be good by the weekend. Hopefully 100%. And Southern teams will be better conditioned for this year's juniors, says Stefani. We had to keep our military pants in place by using Perfetta snakes, says Ritsima. Some good tackles being made throughout this game, and there's actually been some pretty good work in the breakdowns overall. Like, I know that handling has been shocking in this game, right? But, like, breakdown work from these two sides. Here comes a big run from, I think it was Palu. David Palu just recently came onto the field, passed out wide, good handling, chance to run down the wing, ball on the inside, Australia answer straight back. If only they knew how to score when South Africa hadn't scored a minute or two prior, they'd be able to do quite well. But Australia, with Shane Wilcox, the try scorer, and the end Angus Staniforth was the one who got the assist. Say Perfetta again. Is it not Perfetta? It's probably something very different. The running rugby will come. The basics still beauty, says Ritsima. A great finish for Wilcox. Yes, Staniforth just keeps it in the field of play. I leave him alone, says Grant. Although you did correct me earlier on, but that was because I was accidentally saying something very, very not good in Afrikaans. The pronunciation anyway. Now Australia taking the lead back, 15 points to 14. Once again, it's just really confusing that Australia can only score when South Africa have scored. They have got the kick over. It is now going to be 17 points to 14 when the Junior Wallabies passes actually connect. It's magic. Yeah, like, they're a clinical side. If they could just find their hands in front. Like, a lot of the time they've been catching the ball here, all over the place. And that seems to be straight away, like, what is costing them. That's going to be another mark taken, of course, in this Rugby Championship competition. They have decided to add the rule of you can take a mark off kickoff. So that tries to entice teams to go a little bit outside of their 22. And wingers like Shane Williams, says Annoy. It was a very close game, the way Hamish pronounced Profeta. Sounds like a slur against gay men. How would you say it? How would you say it? Perfada? Is that how you say it? Can't believe my friend is playing in this tournament. Come on, South Africa, says Joshua Pennington. What's your friend's name? I'm hoping you're not going to say Julius, because then I can only tell you that he's dropped the ball 3 times from the 3 times that he's touched it. But if you say anyone else, maybe it will be a little bit better. Pofadder. Okay, Pofadder. What does it mean? It's just a type of snake, is it? Another draw, says Yako. Could be. 3 points needed for the South Africans. Sherwood is out there on the park. He was a real impact player for them in the game up against New Zealand. The big man button horse, but he's knocked it on. Again, steak. Like, as in, like, what type of steak? Is it like the odds, maybe? Is that what you mean? I know that at the moment Australia are probably considered slight favourites. Julius is a really classy player, but not dealing with the wet ball, clearly. And, I mean, that's going to concern, like, future selectors a little bit. I know that, who was it? Was it Madosh Tumway? A couple years ago, he went through a really hard patch, how he was a brilliant player with the ball in hand, but he often dropped it. He's playing centre right now, says Xander. So they have got, at inside centre, Bruce Sherwood, and outside centre, they've gone with Julius still out there. And what do you think? What do you think who will win? I think that this game's a 50-50 at the moment, because it's whoever makes the least amount of competition errors, or at least the last 10-minute errors. We have get there. A Blackadder's camp cousin, says Sebastian. I wish you're the best, says Hang a Rat. Cheers. Of course, we're going to be back on Sunday for more of this Under-20 Rugby Championship, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new, Thomas Dyer. We're going to see his name in this one. No. Not for this game. Has he had any minutes as of yet? Do let me know. Right, another change being made. Phillipson onto the field for Sharples. Short Venom Snake can strike very fast. And Julius does not have a history of poor hands. Think we'll be okay moving forward. Yeah, it just seems weird that in this competition in particular, it's been a real struggle for him. How long does a half last? 40 minutes. So they've still got another 10 minutes remaining in this contest. Going back across the Australians with a beautiful short pass. Now looking for the next one. They're starting to hang on to the ball. Wilcox has the man with him. Cuts on the inside. Went for the offload. But it misses the hands of the winger played in the first game. Not this one though. What's the South African halfback doing? Okay, something must have happened there, but it made the South African Moose very angry. He started pushing the replacement halfback right off the park, almost over a fence. And puff at her, the snake that kills the most people in the world. They are very lazy. We feed leftovers to the one in our garden. Okay, fair enough. Just casually feeding a snake. Which New Zealand under-20 team do you prefer? Found the backline of this week's team a lot better. It did look a lot more clinical, and they were getting it right a lot more often, I found. So I wouldn't mind seeing that as the combination next week, or something very similar. Although it still seems like Rico Simpson was feeling that pressure of being the starting fly half, but I think he's still probably the best option. Great run from Valentini. He's a metre out. He's just crawled forward, though. Double movement, so they will go back for the original penalty. That was also a case of an Australian getting greedy. Is JC Mars on the field? I don't think so yet. I know that Julius... Oh, actually, no, he may have come on the field for Damon, who got injured earlier on. I haven't really mentioned his name too much, though, throughout this time since that injury. Why can't he draw on bar? Says, oh, yeah, he got a little bit greedy. Still moving to the Sharks. Julius's hands have turned to feet. Or, sorry, since moving to the Sharks. It's my first time watching rugby. How long does a half last? It's 40 minutes, once again. I should have gone for the three-pointer, says Freshy Boat. Okay, the South African team is starting to suck now. Says hanging around, and it's uncontested at line-out time. When they're only 5 metres out from the line, that is definitely going to sense danger for the Australians. They are over, and they have scored another try there. And it looks like it's going to be the number 7, Dane Sawyers, who does score the try. And that might just secure the game unless South Africa can score themselves one in the next kind of 2 or 3 minutes. Perhaps they need to break that trend. Because, of course, normally Australia, the team, scoring directly after the box. We have Southern Hemisphere as premium. We hope as Springbok that Australia can be great again, says Ritsima. Yeah, Sawyer's just decided he was going himself. That might be the game. Should have gone for the three-pointer. I mean, they've just got themselves the possibility of the 7 here. So it's a little bit of a risk, of course. But three-pointer would still mean that if South Africa had got themselves a try and converted, they would have won. So I can understand why they went for it. No European team must win a World Cup again, says Ritsima. Now 7 minutes remaining. Oh. Hang on, what are we looking at? Right, there's a clear knock-on apparently, so this one's probably going to be disallowed, but he also wants to look at the actions of green 4 being Lekane. Right, we're going to see it here. Oh, yeah. So I think he drops that ball. Yeah, he does. So that's going to be a no try. Great work from the TMO. As unfortunate as the timing of it is, he's noticed that it's a knock-on, but they are just saying that Lekane might have done something illegal here, which would give Australia just looking around for him. They just want to find another angle who will be a man of match. I'd go Shane Wilcox. Yes, he scored 2 tries, so it makes it a little bit easier to pick him, but I think he's done pretty well throughout this contest. I mean, you know, like, looking through everyone else, there's no one else that's really fully stepped up, I wouldn't say. Like Harley's been all right, but nothing too special. Sharples wasn't bad at halfback. If I was to pick a South African player, I'd probably say, I don't know, really. I feel like for South Africa, they've been a little bit more spread out in terms of everyone's... Ethan Bester was pretty good, actually, in that first half, so... You know, he'd probably get a shout, or Lakani, although it sounds like he might be going to the bin here. We're going to show it now. Okay. So they're actually saying here that Lakani, he stopped a probable try from being scored. Although it's not that probable because he knocked it on, didn't he? So this is going to be a yellow card to Lakani, and it sounds like it's going to be a penalty try to the Australians in this case. There was a try that was ruled out for a knock-on. From there, Lakani has come in through the side or through the back. He's fallen down and collapsed the maul, which sounds like it's going to be a penalty try and a yellow card. So all that it's changed is the fact that Australia now don't have to take the kick. Their line-out look or throw looks skewed, says Jaden. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because this week they haven't been as harsh with line-out throws as they were last week. Like, everything last week was called as not straight. This week, I don't think we saw any in this game, and we didn't really see too many in New Zealand versus Argentina either. Yeah, unfortunately for Lakani, like, he joined from the back, which was completely legal, but then his problem was he fell off that maul because of too many players pushing back at him, and then from there, it meant that he does end up going to the bin. Don't know how South Africa lost, says Bhavani. Yeah, this is an Australian side that went from not being able to score a single try last week to now having 3 and leading 24 points to 14. South Africa made their bed. So he's hanging around. And of course, that first initial red card didn't help. Australia didn't really score too many tries during that period, but just not having one man on the field maybe made them tire out a little bit more. That's going to be a high tackle coming in from the Australians. Ref, very bad. I don't think the refs cost them this game, though. And did Lakani get a yellow card? Yes, he did. Because it stopped a probable try from being scored by the Australians. It was a penalty try and a yellow card. I see in there, Corduke's just a little bit too high with his tackle attempt. Like they've just said, though, South Africa, 5.5 minutes left. If they score another try, they're back in this game, even with 14 men on the field. It's going to be another penalty going the way of South Africa. That's for playing the man in the air. Australia trying their best to allow South Africa to march all the way up to their goal line at this point. The baby box dildo hands cost them this game. Says Grant. Now, Grant is South African, so when he says that, of course, be offended at him rather than me. Australia will need to beat New Zealand by at least 23 points for either Argentina or South Africa to win the Rugby Championship. So glad I stayed away from the TAB on this one. Says Drink on the Moon. Yeah, no, it's not over yet. Wait and see whether or not South Africa can get themselves a win here or whether South Africa have a late comeback on the cards. Nicely claimed by JF Van Heeren. That one's collapsed off the back now for the South Africans. They've got themselves another penalty advantage. This end of the game cannot come soon enough for the Australians. But South Africa now, there was a knock on, so they'll go back for the original penalty. I think the ref just realised there's another team on the field. Says Angarat. Also the click. Says Brian. 4 minutes remaining now. South Africa, they are once again going to kick this one for the corner. This is where these guys on the bench need to really step up, whether that's Sherwood, whether that's Murphy, whether it's going to be Adam Devol at the line-out time, JC Mars, whose name we haven't actually really mentioned other than when someone asked, is JC Mars on the field. What's the time left now? Still another 3 minutes 50 remaining. So there's still time for South Africa if they can score off this one right here, right now. They're 5 metres from the line and their rolling maul is starting to move. They've been told to use it once. It's still creeping forward. And that's going to be a turnover. That's controversial. Wow. So the referee told them to use it. They were then able to break away, score the try, but it's been ruled as too late before they used it, which they've scored the try there. That's really bad. Like some of these other ones in the game, of course, they happen. But that one there, possibly just stop South Africa from starting their comeback. How much time do you put into learning how to pronounce our players' names, says Paul Campbell? It takes a wee while. And I think once you get a few of the pronunciations right, you can start to get many more names right, if that makes sense. But yeah, it takes a little while. We're trying to make sure that we're saying them relatively close. Lansley is in the chat, said chicken in, big up Kiwi Lads family. Turn over, that's it then. The decision sounds very harsh indeed. Yeah, it wasn't a good call from the referee. Yes, he told them to use it. Oh, this is a chance though for South Africa. Kicked him behind by Julius. Is he going to win the foot race? It bounces awkwardly. South Africa still score it, and that is a big FU to the referee from the South African Springboks juniors. And now 2 minutes left. They've scored their try that they needed. So luckily that decision hasn't really changed too much. That decision from the ref is proof he is one-eyed, says Bert Rayner. I wouldn't say he's been one-eyed throughout this game. I think that there's been some ill discipline from one side more than the other, I would say, and I think that red card was a perfect proof of that. But that is a brilliant finish from Best and a great kick in behind from Julius. Pedantic, says Gus. In South Africa, of course, they're going to disallow it. Most hated team in rugby, says Hang Around, until Hamish calls a player Intercourse Church. And great game, says Freshy. Now the opportunity for South Africa. If they get this kick over, they will be down by 3. Would they take another draw here? Oh, he's missed it by far. So that is going to mean that they need a try converted in the last minute to go on to win this game. Right on the box, still the ref wasted time with that original decision, says Brian. Although not a huge amount. Beneficially for South Africa, it only took maybe another minute to score. Of course, there's not a lot of time left on the clock, but they're still in the position where they can still go on to win this, which I think is the more important part. Abesta, he has scored 2 tries today. Springboks juniors down by 5. 19 points to 24. Kicked off line by the Australians. South Africa take the mark. Why? Why have they taken the mark? Yeah, they've taken the quick tap, put it back into the pocket. Now they're kicking it downfield. There's 30 seconds remaining. It's a great kick, don't get me wrong. But now Australia can just stall this, boot it back again, and make a bit of territory. This seemed like a really inexperienced call, I guess you could say, from this Junior Springbok side. Although beneficially for them as well. Oh, they've just knocked it on. With 10 seconds left, that should almost be the game. What are you doing, says Grant? Yeah, I would have first of all not called the mark. It was like the number 6 or someone. You've just got to bulldoze your way forward in that scenario. That drop ball now from, I think it was Adam Deval who's dropped it and wanted to lose South Africa, says Bhavani, and crazy to kick it away, says Brian. Reminds me how quiet World Rugby are with the refs, says Justin. And well done the box, still the ref wasted time. Oh no, I read that one, didn't I? You can see there, Lakani is disappointed. Crazy to kick it away. Game over Super Sunday coming up, says Freshy. So, of course, we are going to be covering some of the games on Sunday as well, ladies and gents. These are the 2 matches which are just around the corner. Australia versus New Zealand. The second game, South Africa versus Argentina, will be the first. We've still got a scrum reset here. This game's not over until Australia get this ball out the back door and they boot it into touch. And thanks again, Amish. Great commentary as always, said Brian. And yeah, we have also got Super Rugby on Friday night. That is the next live stream that we have got. Ladies and gentlemen, where is this ref from? I'm not actually sure, to be honest. I think it's local. It might be local referees. I haven't really heard him talk, though. It's Angus Maybe. Where is Angus Maybe from? Angus Maybe, he's a New Zealand referee. But that doesn't mean we need to do the conspiracies of the World Cup final and everything like that. That's going to be kicked into Dutch, or is it? Yes, it has gone out. I thought for a second he hadn't kicked it all the way out. But that is full time. Australia get themselves the win. 24 points to 19. And this is BS, says Ivan. And I was with the excellent try. Or come try, says Lansley. And thanks, Hamish. Says Brian, the unlucky baby box. Says bystander. And I'll be honest, with exception of the last 15 minutes, neither of these sides, brutally honest opinion, they didn't really deserve to win this game. Both had about 15 handling errors. Everyone was given away far too many infringements as well for either side's liking. But the last 15 minutes, That was the difference. Australia managing to break their trend of only being able to score when South Africa scored, and that made the change. Australia, says Kristen. And there, thanks, Hamish, says Grant. And boom, Aussie, thanks again, Hamish. A lot more money because of bad refereeing. They're back in terrible teams. Says Drink on the Moon, an excellent commentary, even though South Africa isn't winning, as I wanted, says Lansley Blake. Of course, they will have one more game left. They are sitting currently a loss and a draw in this Under-20s Rugby Championship. They'll be going head-to-head with Argentina, who find themselves in the position of a win and a loss. So whoever wins that game, I believe, will finish a little bit higher than the others. I know that ref will get the blame. He already has, to be fair. But I also am really confused at that decision from the South Africans. When you've got a minute left on the clock, you do not take the mark when you're inside of your 22. That used up an extra 20 seconds. They then kicked it down the field to give Australia possession, which luckily for them, the Australians kicked it back, but that easily could have ended up just with Australia closing out that game with the ball in hand. And Block's coach should be sacked. We can't blame the ref, the weather. All these players losing is one thing, but the lack of Springbok fundamentals while losing is even worse, says Jaden. Thanks, Irish. Good work on the challenging game. And let's get the ref address so that we can send him specs. Or please get the ref's address so that we can send him spare specs or contact lenses that are gave too many errors, and that is caused by the crap. Although, you can't completely blame a referee for a team that's dropped the ball 15 times. Like I mentioned earlier on, yes, there were some frustrating decisions throughout this game for both sides, and maybe more of them were against South Africa. But we've also got to remember, if you're going to drop the ball as much as they did, same with Australia. Like I said it once, I'll say it again, neither of these sides really played like a side that wanted to win. And unfortunately, if you have so many handling errors throughout a game, you're going to blow countless try opportunities. And I'd say if South Africa didn't have those 15 handling errors, they probably would have scored 3 or 4 more tries. But unfortunately, wrong time to drop the ball happened. And it happened over and over. Cheers, mate, over and out, says Drink on the Moon. Difficult game. Thanks, but second half at work again. And bye-bye, Kiwi lads. O'Keefe is the ref. He is not. No, it was Angus maybe. Different referee. I don't know what's worse, the ref or your typing. Says, oh, that's pretty harsh, Padza. Not a good advert for rugby. Says Bert, yeah, I agree. 15 handling errors from both sides is not what you want to see for these young up-and-coming players, but it's something that they'll learn from. At the end of the day, they wouldn't have played in these wet, tricky conditions too often in their careers. That handling error count, I think it will drop a little bit more on Sunday if there is less rain around. Cheers, Amish, says Fleshin. And there as well, Rugby is Beauty, says Aritsima. And New Zealand could only manage a draw, says David G. Although New Zealand also bet Argentina, whereas Argentina bet Australia with a bonus point win and kept Australia tryless. So it's a bit of a weird scenario, isn't it, in some regards. And cheers, Roof. And I'm only kidding, Sweet Pea, says Bads Blaze in this as well. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. Like I mentioned, Sunday is the next round of the Under-20 Rugby Championship. Also, alongside that, we have got plenty more action coming in the near future with Super Rugby, with the URC, and also with a few more competitions just around the corner, such as the Sevens, such as the Champions Cup, maybe even some cricket as well. But thank you all very much for being here. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.